Hi everyone. So I just wanted to clarify a few things. Hi everyone. So I just wanted to clarify a few things. As you have probably seen on social media, Luke Winke has been trying to call me from jail, from the Monroe County Jail in Rochester since his arrest, or since 2 days ago rather. He was arrested on the 17th. He began calling me on the 19th. Yeah. He called me 8 times on the 19th. On the third call I picked up, it said it was a complimentary call, and the inmate has to state their name at the beginning of each call. I knew it was Luke Winke. I knew it was his voice. The reason I picked up was so that it would record me saying to him, "Do not contact me." That's all I said, and I immediately hung up without letting him get a word in edgewise because I am not open or receptive to his contact. In keeping with my zero contact policy, that's what I did. He kept calling. So this 1:25 p.m. call right here. That's the one where I picked up and said, "Do not contact me," immediately hung up. He called, as you can see, 4 minutes later, then a half hour after that, then a minute after that, another half hour after that, and then 2 minutes after that. He did not call me yesterday, but he called me today. He called me at 1:11. I immediately rejected it. 1:12, immediately rejected it. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, you can just block all calls from the facility. Why don't you just do that? Yes, I can. You can, in fact, you can block all calls from that inmate. You can block all calls from that facility. I'm aware. I've done this in the past. This is not my first rodeo with being harassed and stalked by Luke Winke. It's been going on for years. And while I appreciate the advice because I understand that it's coming from a well-intending place, if it were as simple as blocking or ignoring Luke Winke, this wouldn't have been going on for upwards of 3 years, in my case. Some people have been being stalked and harassed by Luke Winke for far longer than that. Because blocking and ignoring a stalker, a clinical textbook stalker, doesn't make them stop. If anything, it makes them want to get to you more. And I'm not an expert. I'm not speaking from an academic standpoint. I will admit that, but I'm speaking from firsthand experience. The less accessible I am to Luke Winke, the harder he tries to get to me. Now, that doesn't mean that I should make myself available to him. That's never going to be the case. No matter what, I'm always going to put up a wall and refuse to engage with him. And some people say, well, you have this website. Okay, long before my website existed, this was going on. He was contacting me. I have records dating back more than 4 years, actually, of Luke Winke contacting me in an unwanted, unwelcome fashion and doing it knowingly, right? With an awareness that I don't want him to talk to me. Because what's on legal paper does not even remotely capture the breadth, the scope, the gravity of Luke Winke's stalking and harassment. He's been doing this his entire adult life. Really, again, if blocking and ignoring, I wish because that's what I've been doing for years. That's what his other victims, and I don't like to talk for other people, but I feel comfortable enough to say this. That's what his other victims have been doing. They've been blocking, ignoring, going to the law for help, going to multiple law enforcement agencies, anyone who will listen for help, desperate to be left alone. And it just doesn't stop. Even when Luke Winke gets caught red-handed contacting his victims, it doesn't stop. For example, in 2023, while detained at the Chautauqua County Jail for contacting a victim that he was banned by court order from contacting, he mailed letters to a victim who had an order of protection against him. And then he wrote to the judge overseeing his case and said, I just wrote to so and so because I'm technically not breaking the law by addressing the letters to his wife. He was, though, because under the terms of the order, he was not allowed to contact the victim or anyone associated with them. He was charged in connection with that, but it didn't stick. Nothing seems to stick. And here we are. But just to answer the question, I will most likely block all calls from the facility. But do you think that means, oh, he's just going to go away? He's just going to, give up? No, no, of course not. I strongly suspect that's when, if a letter is not already in the mail to my family's property, there will be one. And it will probably not contain anything explicitly chargeable. Because guess what? In 2025 New York State, unwanted contact isn't enough of a reason to pursue a harassment case, as I'm learning. I'm trying my darndest. Every relevant law enforcement agency is kept up on this, and I know certain ones are watching my page, so they should be aware. The ones that won't talk to me because they're mad at me for going public with my story, but that's another story for another day. I am a victim. Um, I do tell the state authorities about all of this, and I'm pushing for something to be done. I'm waiting to hear back from them. I understand that they're busy. I'm trying to be patient. I'm angry that nothing's been done in all these years. I first went to the state authorities about Luke almost 4 years ago. The feds 5 years ago. And that was before I considered myself a victim, but because I had some information I thought would be useful. So let's say I block all these calls from the Monroe County Jail. Last time I did that, I started getting phone calls from Luke's pedophile friends. Yeah, sex offenders, including a man who sodomized a 12-year-old girl twice, or a victim 12 or under, I should say. A female victim 12 or under. That's what I found in his record. That's the company he apparently keeps. And I don't know if he's kept in touch with these people since then, which scares me because he knows my family's address. Whether or not I'm living there doesn't matter. But that brings me to my next point is, okay, I block him, he can't reach me, at least not directly, and let's say for whatever reason he can't convince any of his flying monkeys to contact me in his stead. And for whatever reason he doesn't send me a letter, or he sends me a letter but doesn't feel like that's enough. He knows who my family is. He knows who they work for. He knows their address. Their phone numbers are not hard to find. I really worry that he will target them once he cannot get to me, because historically speaking, that's what he's known to do. I don't know if my family would cooperate with charges against Luke Winke, even if they were in a position to do so, because they tend to be more of the let's just hope it goes away type. Which, I mean, I know. That's not how it works with Luke Winke. I could tell a million people this a million times. I could say it until I'm blue in the face, but there are always going to be people who just block him, just ignore him. Look, I'm sorry to sound snarky. It just gets so old because if that were enough, do you think this would have been going on as long as it has? Do you think he'd be on his second federal cyber stalking case? Do you think he would have violated probation, allegedly, I have to say, for to avoid a lawsuit, 5 times over, I think, a 3 or 4 month period? So I just wanted to get that part out of the way, and I'm not trying to be nasty. I'm sorry if I sound exasperated, but good Lord, I really wish it was that simple. And I'm just gonna leave you with that. Like I said, I will probably block the facility. I'm waiting to hear back from a certain law enforcement agency first. I'm going by the book. I'm doing exactly what the police tell me to do. My only deal breaker, I'm not deleting my website. I'm not taking it down. Because guess what? When it didn't exist, they weren't doing anything more for me than they're willing to do now. And at the very least, At least my dignity is somewhat intact if I'm allowed to get a word in edgewise about my experience with this three-ring shit show that I think the authorities have an obligation and a duty to take control of. They need to keep this caged animal under control. This isn't my job as a civilian. It should have never came down to this. But look, in October, they sprung him loose. No probation, no oversight of any kind. After he was deemed a threat to society and forcibly institutionalized, he went into treatment, kicking, screaming, reluctant, in denial. He came out in even worse condition. Despite all that knowledge, and I'm not necessarily blaming the authorities because maybe legally their hands were tied and they couldn't, force any more treatment on him or, get him on any more charges or something. But it's just something to think about. This is a lot more complicated than just, oh yeah, block him, it'll cease to be a problem. He'll leave me alone. He'll leave his other victims alone. And that brings me back to one more final point because my website's getting some heat, like some criticism from the authorities. Well, not necessarily criticism. I have to watch what I say because if I misstep, God knows. But I am mentioned in the criminal complaint against Winky. It says I'm a private citizen. Every time the public docket is updated, I copy it to my website, my blog post. I love how it's almost like they use the word blog to like delegitimize or to make it seem more amateurish. Um, yeah, I'm a beginning web builder. Yeah, you got me. But you know what? This website serves a very valid purpose. I think that I'm coming from the right place, whether they disagree with my method or not. But, you know, long story short, this website is a convenient scapegoat. If this website didn't exist, do you think Luke Winky would have just left everybody alone? Absolutely not. This website is a year and 3 weeks old today, to the date. This started years and years ago. For those of us who truly know, for those of us who've truly been with this from the beginning, the topics era, my website is just a mere blip in the big picture. And that's just the cold hard truth. If I took the website down today, do you think Luke Wiki would just shut up and go away? No. He'd he'd find someone or something, or because the website did exist at one time, he would justify, well, it was a thing, so I am allowed to be mad, so I'm allowed to go on this crusade to ruin lives and blame people who had nothing to do with the website. And that's the final thing I'm gonna say is this is a one person operation. It's always just been me. No one else is involved. No one else runs it. No one else helped me start it. I mean, you'll notice it does not look like a professional made that website. That's because I'm not a professional, but I still think it's important to get the record out there. If they, here's the thing, and this is what I told the FBI in 2020 when I first went to them. If Luke Winky seriously harmed someone or worse, and I hadn't put the information out there, if I hadn't contacted the authorities, and then after losing faith in the authorities, if I hadn't just gone straight to the public and warned these, raised these glaringly obvious red flags, if I had just stayed silent and he hurt someone or worse, whose conscience is that on? Well, guess what? I'm gonna sleep soundly tonight. Have a good one.